Episode 5, A Lesson from Professor Pig. This is your boy Icon with some DC TV. And this show is starting to pick up now. Like some interesting things is on the horizon. But the episode starts where, because we saw in the last episode, Alice and Sophie, they're supposed to be roommates now because Sophie's supposed to be watching her and keeping an eye on her during the whole thing with her meds. Because Alice is like going crazy and she's hallucinating and she's seeing all sorts of weird stuff. So, they're at the house, whatever, but Alice and Ryan still have to do the missions for the Batman trophies, for Montoya. So Batwoman shows up at the house to go collect, like Alice and try to figure out, because they said that Montoya had this whole thing where some whip killer, ended up tying somebody up and like stringing them up on a cross, and they suspect that Catwoman's at play because there was a whip involved. So Sophie, Alice, and Ryan, Batwoman, they go down to the, to the crime scene. They're doing their thing, like they're scoping out evidence and blah, blah, blah. Ryan, at that point, she basically tells Alice, she's like, listen, it's up to you to figure this one out on your own. She was like, I'm gonna have to leave this one in your hands. And then when Alice was just like, both of us were supposed to, do the whole thing. She was like, why all of a sudden do I have to solve this mystery on my own? And then she was like, because I got a dinner to go to with my mom. So the show at this point, it branched off into two different storylines, like one with Alice, one with Ryan, and then a little small one with Mary in the middle. So we'll start with Ryan. Ryan, she was talking to Luke and she was talking to Mary. And she was letting them know that, her mom had, Mrs. Jet. She basically like summoned her to come down to the mansion for her to have dinner, And then here's where my prediction starts to come true, because Mary was in the room, and then, she came in and she was all like, oh, Ryan, you shouldn't go talk to your mom. Like, the woman's crazy. Luke was just like, yeah, she was taking down Wayne's stock, and she was like, our stock is plummeted. And, he said that the board of directors is going crazy and you've been doing damage control. There's like, why would you have dinner with your mom? And then she was just like, that's the only, she said that we have to get dirt on her because my mom is trying to destroy Wayne Enterprises. So we need to find something on her to get her to back off. And then she said, like going to the dinner is probably the only way that I can go about doing that. So then while Mary was basically like giving her a firm talking to, she ended up going over to like, to where the drinks and everything is. And then she downed an entire bottle glass of water. And I mean, like she like downed all that water. And like I was saying in the last episode, I mean, I still feel like that's a Mary clone. I mean, it may actually be Mary and she's just been infected with poison ivy, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a Mary clone, because the clone now, like, it needs, to feed off of water. It needs more sunlight. We see Mary, like at her hospital, like downstairs, she's got all these plants everywhere and she's pruning plants and everything. And then she got into an argument with Alice at one point and she was just like, oh, my genius using plants to defrost Sophie's sister saved the day. So she's like on this whole plant trip right now. But I feel like it's because she isn't actually poison ivy, but she's not even actually infected. I feel like she's been replaced. So that could be wrong, but I just feel like she's been replaced with a plant clone, and the plant clone is out there doing the stuff that, that Mary used to do. But anyway, so then, but then Ryan was just like, listen, she's like, I got to go to the dinner. So she was just like, just keep an eye on Alice while she tries to look up the Catwoman thing. And then Luke was just like, oh, but how are you going to go there by yourself? And then she's like, I'm not going to be by myself. I'm going to have backup because I'm taking Sophie's fine ass with me. So Sophie ends up going with her. They go down to the mansion. They get to the mansion, they see the mom they introduce Sophie to the mom and everything. And then, they're getting ready to have dinner. They're sitting at dinner. And then that's when we get the first actual Batman villain of the season. Because up until this point, with the exception of Nora Freeze, all the Batman villains so far have been reincarnations, like modern versions of the old villains. This is the first one where it's like actually him. And while they're at dinner, the butler ends up going to the chef and tells the chef, like, oh, prepare another plate for dinner, talking about Sophie. The madam wants you to prepare another plate for dinner. And then, like the chef, he was just like, no problem. He was like, another plate, we shall be. And then he cuts off like the head of a pig. And then we see that it's actually like the character of the pig, the Batman villain, the pig, who I guess he, like, after he was doing his whole thing, cutting people up or whatever, I guess after Batman thwarted his plans one time too many, he retired and became a chef. So he's at Ryan's mom's house now and he's hosting the dinner. So then while they're sitting there waiting for dinner to come, Marcus shows up. He shows up with a date. And then he was just like, oh, you're having a family dinner behind my back. And then he got mad at Ryan because in the last episode, both Marcus and Ryan had agreed to team up together to try to like build something for themselves to take, to take down like their mom's evil empire. But Marcus feels like because Ryan went to the dinner, she's trying to cut him out of the mix, and she basically double crossed him. So now it's all tense. And then the mom was even saying, she was just like, oh, I saw you and Marcus at that party. She was like, yeah, I better not, plot against me. So now it's like everybody's at dinner and it's like this whole awkward conversation. There's a moment where like Ryan even told her, she was just like, oh, she was just like, I just want to thank you for giving me up because I didn't get like this fabrication mansion with butlers and maids and all this other stuff. She said, I got an actual home. I got a mother that loved me, because she was basically trying to say that like the life of luxury is glamorous and all, but look at your son. He hates your guts. I was in a situation where I got love and I feel like I'm better off. So she's like, thank you for giving me up when I was a child. So then the pig shows up and then he ends up pouring wine for everybody. And then after Ryan had given her speech, like Marcus, he was going to say something too, but he didn't get a chance to actually say something because the wine had taken effect. And then, because the pig had drugged the wine. He put something in the wine that basically like paralyzed everybody. It caused like paralysis. Marcus's girlfriend, she went to the bathroom. And then when she was in the bathroom, she was trying to turn on the water faucet. And then she was wondering why she couldn't feel her hands, why she couldn't feel anything. And then like she passed out and the pig went in the bathroom and basically killed her. So then when everyone else got paralyzed because everybody drank the wine, after everybody else got paralyzed, then the pig showed up. He had the pig mask on. He had like, like the butcher knife and everything. And then he told like the mom, Miss Jet, Jada Jet, he was like, oh, you don't remember me, do you? And then she was just like, am I supposed to? And according to him, when he became a chef, he used to be a chef for her at her company. And she fired him because she didn't like the food that he made, which in turn, that caused him, because he has a wife and kids too, that caused him to basically get a divorce from his wife, because for some reason women always leave you when you lose your job, even if it's not your fault. And and then like she took the kids or whatever, and then he became homeless. And then like I don't know if that happened before he became the pig villain or after he became the pig villain. I don't think that was ever specified. So now the pig wants his revenge. And he said that his whole, because again, Marcus didn't know about the dinner, but the pig said he was the one that informed Marcus about the dinner to get Marcus to come to the dinner so he can kill Marcus in front of his mom and get his revenge once and for all. But then he said like, oh, your strange daughter being here, that's the icing on the swine cake. So, and I said at this point, like everybody, like, like they have paralysis, but of course, Ryan and Sophie, like they're fighters. So when the pig is getting ready to kill Marcus, or, he's getting ready to kill, like Jada Jet, Sophie and Ryan, like, they stabbed him in the thigh, and then like he went down for the count, and then everybody, because like the paralysis hadn't really taken 100% effect, so they were still able to be somewhat mobile. And then like they ran from him, and then they hid in a bomb shelter, because Jada had a makeshift bomb shelter, and they was just like, why do you have a bomb shelter? Like she hid in the bomb shelter, and all four of them were in there. Meanwhile, the pig, like he picked himself up, and he's on the outside now, like kicking and screaming, but he's trying to like break down doors and try to like find things to, like to get to them, because obviously there's only one way in and one way out, so that he has to get to them at some point. Marcus at that point had basically caught a seizure, because out of everybody, he drank the most amount of wine out of everybody at, at the dinner. So he immediately goes into convulsions and he goes into a seizure. And they were saying that in order for them to save him, they need to get a shot. He needs a shot of adrenaline. And they said that, like Jada said that her ex-husband, he used to have adrenaline shots like hidden in camping gear. But the problem is the camping gear is downstairs. So Ryan, being Batwoman, she decides to go downstairs to try to get the camping gear. She goes downstairs. The pig finds her, like he follows her. And then, when he goes downstairs, like, they fight for a little bit. And then, he basically like knocked out Ryan, had her on the bed. And, and then like he was going to kill her. Like he picked up the knife and he was going to like chop her into a million pieces. But then after that, like Jada came downstairs and she was like, don't hurt my daughter. And I'm like, now it's your daughter. She was like, don't hurt my daughter. And then, like he was distracted. But at that point, Ryan had got her hands on the adrenaline, and she ended up using the adrenaline on herself to wake herself up. She threw the pouch over to Sophie. Sophie gave herself a shot of some of it. They gave Marcus a shot of it. And then, both Sophie and Ryan ended up fighting the pig. And while they were fighting the pig, Marcus came from behind and like stabbed him in the back and he killed him. So now there's another classic Batman villain that's dead. And not only did Marcus kill him, he killed him repeatedly. He took like a screwdriver, a knife or something, and repeatedly like stabbed him in the back of the neck and in the back of the face. Jada started screaming, and they was looking at him like, like he done lost his damn mind. Earlier in the episode, Sophie was actually like sneaking into Jada's stuff, like going through her stuff. And then she found a photograph of both Jada and Marcus. But when she opened the photo, she saw that Marcus's dad was in the photo too, but he was conveniently like folded out of the picture. She ended up sending that picture to, to Luke, and then she was just like, yo, Luke, go check this out, like look this up for me, because she was trying to get evidence on her, because like Jada is the person that's funding the group that almost froze and killed her sister. So Sophie's definitely looking for blood. Jada busted her in the room, and then like later on when they were in the bomb shelter, Sophie had said to her, she was just like, oh, you're the one that, that did those human experiments with the Mr. Freeze gun and the Mr. Freeze. And he's like, my sister was one of those people and you tried to kill my sister. And then Jada was like, I didn't know about the experiments, and then she was like, bullshit, like you tried to kill my sister. And then she was like, trust me, I didn't know about the experiments. And I mean, she doesn't know about the experiments because she did say in the last episode, when the guy who was kidnapping everybody and performing those experiments, when he was talking to Jada, she told him straight up, she said, I don't want to know the details about how you obtained the freezing agent. And it's like, it's the whole deniability thing. It's like, if you don't know, you can't lie. So she's playing the whole, oh, I was unaware, I didn't want people to get hurt. But I'm like, come on, you knew if there was a chance something dastardly was going on, you just wanted to play dumb and not, and not be aware of it. Like I said, but Sophie's too smart, so she ain't falling for that. But she's gonna continue to look into it, because she even told Ryan, she was like, yo, your mom's hiding something. Then after that, like Ryan and Sophie, like they still flirting, like they called what happened tonight their first date, so that was cute. And then after Sophie said, she was like, your mom is hiding something, Ryan went to go talk to Jada, and then this is where it got pretty cool, because Jada said that when Marcus was a kid, the two of them, I guess they were in a car, they were in a bus or something, and he had a run-in with the Joker. The Joker took his joy buzzer and he pressed it up against Marcus's forehead, and it sent an electrical shock through his entire body. And from that moment on, it caused Marcus some sort of like schizophrenia, like we'll just say like brain damage, like nerve damage, brain damage, whatever, to the point where he had like bad compulsions, where he was just like, he had like anger issues. He kept like freaking out. Jada had sent Ryan videos, like home videos of Marcus basically being an unstable child. And then Ryan was just like, oh, but she said, Marcus has been nothing but a gentleman and been nothing but polite to me. And then her mom was just like, yeah, but 95% of sociopaths usually are perfect gentlemen. And then she was watching the videos of when like Marcus was, like cursing out her mom, and then, like cursing out her dad. And then he threw something at the camera. And then she saw a clip of Marcus killing his dad, because his dad was allergic to seafood, and Marcus had made his dad a burger, and the burger that he made him had seafood in it. And then after his dad ate it and bit into the seafood, because he's allergic to shellfish or whatever, he, his throat swelled up, and then he started to choke, and then he almost died. They were looking for like his inhaler or like his adrenaline pump, and I guess they couldn't find it, and then like the whole screen went black. So we're under the assumption that Marcus killed his dad. Jada said that the reason why she was doing the freezing agent thing was because she said that she's been secretly trying to cure him of, like his schizophrenia or like his brain damage or like his malfunction. She said she's been trying to cure him this whole time, but unfortunately she hadn't been able to come up with a cure. So her plan was she was going to freeze him to buy herself some time while she finds a cure for him, and then she was going to unfreeze him. She was basically going to recreate the same, like the same mistake Mr. Freeze did when it came to Nora. That's why she wanted a freezing agent where she could freeze and unfreeze the participant. Because she said that, and then she said that the problem with Marcus is, he's just unstable, he's emotionally disturbed, and she said she wants Ryan's help to try to save her son and her brother. And then they showed a scene of Marcus walking up to the window, because he still had the blood all over him from the pig, and then like he wiped the blood all over his mouth, and then he had like the Joker face on. So I was like, yo, they're Jerome in this from Gotham. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool, because the way things are going now, I don't want to see a situation where they end up saving Marcus, because I feel like what's going to happen, because of the whole thing with Mary and the poison ivy thing, and with Mary having all this knowledge of plants and how plants can save humanity, I feel like Mary's going to come up with a way to save Marcus and cure him of his schizophrenia brain damage. I actually don't want that to happen, because I will be perfectly fine with Marcus becoming the Joker of this entire series and him being the villain going forward, the same way how Kate had Alice, Ryan can now have Marcus. I'd actually be down for that. So I was like, I kind of want to see that. He doesn't have to be the Joker per se, but to see him just be a lunatic and terrorizing Gotham, I said, I'm here for that. And I'm very interested to see how that whole thing, how that whole situation unfolds. Alice now, she was talking to Montoya. And Montoya said she had a bunch of case files that she wanted Alice to go through, because she wanted to find the killer who was responsible for like stringing up that guy on the cross, and she was blaming Catwoman. And then that's when Alice like figured out, Montoya's like dirty secret, because she said that she was going through all of the files that she had. Alice noticed, she said that out of all the files, she said that there's one specifically, the Poison Ivy file, that has all this it's thicker than the other files. It has super confidentiality reports in it, and like brain patterns and testing and blah blah blah. And then that's when Alice thought about it. She said, this whole thing about the Batman trophies, are we really here to collect all the Batman trophies, or did you bring us together just to find one Bat trophy specifically? And that's when Montoya came clean, and she said that back in the day, her and Poison Ivy were together. They were a couple, and she was a scientist. She was working with, with other scientists, and then one guy like ran up on her, and then he performed experiments and exposed her to chemicals. That's how she became Poison Ivy. And then she was like, after that, Pam changed, and then she turned into the villain that we know now as Poison Ivy. So Montoya and Poison Ivy had a love thing going on. Like, they definitely had a thing going on. And Montoya wants to, like, Montoya even said, she said that when Batman stopped Poison Ivy, because she's one of the only Batman villains who's either not dead or in Arkham. And they said, then Alice was like, well, where is she? And then Montoya said that she told Batman to bury her. And that's when I was just like, well, damn. I was like, well, damn. Alice had given her a piece of the Poison Ivy plant that she found at Mary's hospital. And then Montoya had told her, she said that, listen, if that piece of Poison Ivy, if you have a piece of Poison Ivy, like a piece of her vine, and the vine is dead, that means that she already found a new host, and she's like rebuilding herself through a new host. And then that's when it clicked on Alice that Mary might actually be infected. Because while they were at Mary's hospital, she even said, like Alice also came up with the killer of the person who strung him up. I forgot who it was, but they didn't make a big deal out of it. But Alice, when she was at Mary's hospital, she was talking to Mary. She was like, yo, what's really good with all the plants? And the greenery and everything. And then that's when Mary went on her rant about how plants are smarter than humans. And then Alice saw the Poison Ivy vine on the table, and then Alice put two and two together. Every time there's a huge secret on Batwoman, Alice is always the one that discovers the secret, and she discovered the secret that Mary's the one that's infected, and Mary's the one that's either being taken over by Poison Ivy or she's becoming the new Poison Ivy. I don't understand how this works. I don't understand how it works. Like to me, I feel like she replaced her with a plant clone, but the way the show is making it seem is like Poison Ivy is growing within Mary. So I don't know, but basically Mary, but they actually cast somebody to play Poison Ivy. So it's not like Mary's going to be the villain of the season, so it's like, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. That's it. And that was basically it, but like I said, but that was obvious to me that she was, that she was taken over because of the whole thing with getting snatched up at the park, and then like her drinking all that. Once she drunk, it's like, even in the last episode, once she cured Sophie's sister by using like plant medicine, I was like, yo, this girl's infected, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, a lot of storylines going on. So, like the whole thing with Marcus being a villain, the whole thing with the sister, the Sophie Ryan storyline, Mary, being, it's like Marcus is the Joker, Mary's Poison Ivy, so, and then it turns out that Ryan's mom isn't 100% all bad because her heart was in a good place. She just wanted to save her son. So now her and Ryan are probably going to come together to try to save Marcus. Marcus will most likely team up with Alice at some point, and they'll get together and terrorize the city. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. The pig is dead, so like I said, we lost the Batman villain. So in the next episode, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next episode, and I'm not sure how the dynamic of Batwoman's going to work because we have the Flash Armageddon crossover that's about to start. I don't think Batwoman went on hiatus, because if they were going to do the Flash Armageddon crossover, it would make sense to have Batwoman go on like a hiatus, and then when Batwoman returns, she'll return after the crisis is over. But I think there is a new episode of Batwoman tomorrow. So unless Batwoman ends up getting invited to the Justice League at the end of the next episode, we're going to have new episodes of Batwoman, and we're going to have the Armageddon crisis going on at the same time, and we're going to have to try to figure out at what point in time did Batwoman join that fight. Like I said, but it's cool. I ain't got no problem with that, and I'm definitely here for it. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram, always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Share your thoughts, and let us know where we're going with this whole Bat thing. Luke was very minimal in this episode, so but he's still dealing with the Batwing thing, so we'll see what happens with that too. And like I said, we'll just keep rolling on because we're only in 5 episodes. We got a whole lot of Batwoman to go, and I'm definitely down for it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time, for some more action, for some more Batwoman, check out that crossover with Ryan Wilder. And until next time, I'm out this bitch.